The 5 rules are no beef or pork, no dairy, no liquid calories, no sauces, don't eat like a child. You could stop the video right here if you want, but let's just get into it and I'll show you some of the stuff I have in my kitchen so then you can hopefully make some more educated decisions. All right, let me put my sweet potatoes away. It is Sunday, and this is what I typically do on a Sunday, where I will do all of my prep for the week, all the food stuff. I literally just got back from Trader Joe's, and I am making this video because a handful of people ask me, and I just want to summarize it in a single video, so then when people ask me, I can just be like, just go watch the video. That's the homework assignment. So if you're watching this, that's the homework assignment. Okay, no beef or pork. Rule number 1, no beef or pork. What does that mean? Well, no beef or pork comes down to the fact that most beef or pork food sources generally are very calorically dense. So, for example, a steak fried in butter with some olive oil and rosemary, etc., it's generally going to be pretty high in calories. And if you want to get really technical, a lot of beef or pork sources will generally have a ratio where for every gram of protein, you have a single gram of fat. So for a 4-ounce portion, you get 25 grams of protein. You also get 25 grams of fat. And you just end up having a 300 to 500 calorie piece of protein without any cooking stuff like adding oil to cook it or having it in a sandwich, etc., etc. So, no beef or pork comes down to what are our options? Chicken or fish? Okay. There's some caveats here, and the reason why I'm adding these caveats is the no beef or pork exists to help reduce our dietary fat intake, because most people don't know a lot about basic nutrition, which is not a bad thing. This is why we start and we learn these things. But when we don't eat beef or pork, we reduce our options for highly fatty foods. Now, fat is not a bad thing, it's just being strategic with it. So for example, I eat so much 96% lean, 4% fat ground beef from Trader Joe's. You can typically get this at Smart and Final. Sometimes Costco has it, etc. The reason why is because a single serving, which is about 4 ounces of this beef, for a single serving, it's 4 grams of fat and 21 grams of protein. So for a meal for this, for me personally, with my body weight, height, activity level, etc., I'll have around 4 to 5 ounces of this and maybe a slice of avocado on it, and that like a 1 or 2, and that's ends up being what, 10 to 15 grams of fat in a meal, and that's generally my target for my general fitness goals. I can't decide what your macros need to be. Your body weight and your height will dictate this, but in general, if you don't know much about food and you're just getting started, you don't know much about what's in food rather, it's very easy to accidentally overeat in dietary fat, especially when you're trying to make healthier choices, because they're like, eat more protein, but it's like, okay, if you choose the wrong protein, you end up kicking yourself out of a calorie deficit anyways. So, no beef or pork. Let's go to the fish option now. You have to be careful with this, because when it comes to fish, choosing the right type of fish will impose less fat or more fat. So we love Atlantic salmon, and we eat this probably 2, maybe 3 times a week because it's good for you. Healthy fats. But also, if your goal is to not be in a caloric surplus, if you're trying to lose body fat, then yes, healthy fats are good, but if your goal is to lose body fat, being in a calorie deficit is more important than getting in the healthy fats for a period of time, not always. And maybe the frequency in which you eat fatty fish will reduce if you're trying to generally reduce your caloric intake. So for example, a 4-ounce portion of this salmon is about 15 grams of fat and 23 grams of protein. We will also fry this in a pan with oil, and thus a single meal with this salmon for 4 ounces, and these are probably more like 6 to 8 ounce portions if you cut this in half, is going to be 30 to 40 grams of fat in a single meal. So if your goal is generally fat loss, trying to lose weight, improve your body composition, etc., choosing dietary fat low options for your animal protein sources is generally going to be a better play. So the reason why I have the rule, no beef or pork, it's on average, our protein sources are generally lower fat. So which brings me to the chicken breast. Boneless, skinless chicken breast. I sound like a bodybuilder, Jags. Yes, I am well aware. But the reason why I suggest boneless, skinless chicken breast 90% of the time is because it is very easy to just blanket say this is generally going to be a healthier option as long as I'm not deep frying it, breading it, putting a bunch of oil in it, etc. So as much as I hate to say it, for a short period of time in your life, if you're genuinely trying to make healthier choices, boneless, skinless chicken breast will be a good option, and it's not going to be forever. Now, I understand that a lot of people either struggle with cooking boneless, skinless chicken breast, and I have videos on my YouTube channel on how to cook this to make it way more palatable. But if you can't stomach this, you have a hard time cooking it, boneless, skinless chicken thighs is also an option. You will notice though that this is generally redder in color. There's more dietary fat per serving in this, about 10 grams of fat for a 4-ounce serving versus, does this have the nutrition info? 3 grams of fat. So 7 grams of fat less for equal volume and weight. But the no beef or pork rule goes right out the window if you eat bone-in, skin-on chicken thigh and you eat the skin, which is delicious. I'm well aware of that. But that goes out the window, the no beef or pork option, because that rule mainly exists to reduce our highly calorically dense protein sources. But again, I could just say, like, reduce your dietary fat, but most people don't know what that means. So on average, I believe that it is much easier to say no beef or pork, and a lot of the time that will put you in a much more favorable position to make healthier choices. So like if you're out and about, you need to eat something, go to Chick-fil-A, go to Chipotle, get the chicken option, not the steak. It's generally going to be a little bit lower in calorie. No beef or pork, that's the first option. So what are the options for you? Boneless, skinless chicken breast, canned tuna, I eat a ton of, 96% lean ground beef, egg whites, and then the last thing that I will add is and we'll get to the dairy in a second, fat-free Greek yogurt, which is actually a wonderful transition point into the no dairy option. No dairy is just another example of trying to reduce our dietary fat sources in our food choices. So what about yogurt? Is there fat in this? No, there's not fat in Greek yogurt. You have to specifically find the fat-free Greek yogurt. But in general, having fat-free Greek yogurt is good because it's higher protein and there's some carbs in it, but no fat. Where the no dairy rule comes from is whenever you typically eat like potatoes, cheeseburger, etc., you generally will have cheese on it. And you take a bunch of oily potatoes and oily pan-fried burger, you add a slice of cheese on it, makes it super palatable and delicious. It feels really good in your mouth, it tastes great, etc. But you're also adding 120 to 300 calories on a single meal. Like Alfredo sauce, for example, is like way off base. So what are your options then? Oh, I can't eat dairy. There are cheese options that you can choose from, such as there is light cheddar cheese and light mozzarella that you can generally find at most grocery stores. So a slice of this cheddar is 4 grams of fat and 8 grams of protein, and a handful of this mozzarella is 2 grams of fat and 7 grams of protein. Again, we're striving towards protein sources. So long story short, when it comes to the no dairy, it's choosing food sources that are generally higher protein, lower fat. And again, I could just double down on just try and reduce your dietary fat sources. But again, most people don't understand what that means. To which I realize we're going to need to take a little bit of a break for a moment and talk about something very important. And that is a nutrition label. So we're going to use these cookies in my cabinet as a wonderful example. I'm coming over there, coming to hang out. Hi, autofocus. Let's go. Hello, hi, do you see this? Okay, so this is a nutrition facts label. This is basically telling you how many calories is in this food. So the most important things are going to be calories, which is going to be the big number on the top, right there. Then following that, we need to look at the rest of the macronutrients. So that's going to be your total fat, which is going to be right there. Focus, okay. Then you're going to have your total carbs, and then your total amount of protein. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, Jax, I don't want to worry about tracking my food. I don't want to do any of these things. I get it, and that's why I'm making these rules, because it's a good starting point, but we need to get somewhere. So we have our calories, which is the big number. We have fat, carbs, and protein on the nutrition label. And then we also have the serving size. So the serving size is going to say how big of a portion of this food can I eat to stay within these parameters here. Now, if I wanted to have one of these cookies, for example, it would be about 60 calories, 55 calories, because a single serving is 2 pieces. So long story short, when you look at a food label, look at the total calories, which is going to be the big number. Roughly, like, okay, there's more fat in this, there's more carb, there's more protein, etc. But then it's also worth addressing how big is the portion. So if the portion is 2 pieces, then I can pull out my cookies and be like, this is 1 cookie. That doesn't stand up because it's vertical. 2 cookie. This is about 110 calories, or 2 pieces. Now, not all foods are going to be this easy, such as an apple, for example. An apple is like, you can have a really big apple or a really small apple. So I'm making these rules so you don't need to do this right now. But if you're really serious and really curious, and like, we'll get as to why this is important at the end of the video, but having a food scale will be your best friend for making significant progress and making sure you are being accountable when it comes to your food choices. So I know we took a second there just to deviate from the 5 rules that I am suggesting, because it's all important to understand that all this comes down to how much energy density there is in foods, and some foods will have more energy density or more calories, or some foods will have less energy density and less calories, such as a burger, fries, and a shake will have a lot of dense calories versus a Chipotle bowl with rice, no sour cream, no guac, salsa, and maybe half of the tortilla on the side that will probably be less calories than the big burger, fries, and shake. So let's go back to these rules now. Sorry for the quick deviation to what a food label was, but now we need to go back to that no dairy thing that I was mentioning earlier. And this transitions nicely into no liquid calories. So where a lot of calories can come from in the typical American diet is from liquid calories. That is going to be soda, juices, added milks and creams to caffeinated beverages, coffee and frappuccinos and all that. And again, I'm not saying just drink water. I drink so much soda, a ridiculous amount of soda. I'm probably gonna have a soda after I finish recording this video, but it's strategic, and I don't drink liquid calories. So your solution to this is going to be using diet soda as an example. So I'm pulling out all of my calorie-free options for my no liquid calories. Caffeine-free Diet Sprite, Diet Root Beer, Diet Coke, caffeine-free. You can have the caffeinated one as well, but I also generally recommend not just becoming strictly reliant on consuming 400 to 1,000 milligrams of caffeine per day to lose weight. So I do recommend leaning towards the calorie-free options 90% of the time if you are trying to make a more healthy choice. Again, caffeine's not bad, but that's for another video. Diet Coke, obviously. This juice, which is 5 calories per serving per cup, or unsweetened tea, you can sweeten it with non-nutritive sweeteners such as stevia, Splenda, Equal, etc. Okay, Jags, you're adding all this artificial sweetener, aspartame, stevia, sucralose, etc. Aren't you gonna get cancer? If someone makes a comment in the YouTube comments down below asking for the study, I will link it, but I'm just gonna paraphrase and say that one, the handful of studies that have seen cancerous results in rodents would require an equal weight of human relatively to consume 1,500, I think it was like 1,500 pounds of non-nutritive sweetener within like a single hour before they would receive any effect of cancer. So personally, I choose cancer over diabetes. Sorry, just gonna straight up say it, but I will choose my my no liquid calorie rule and just stick to diet soda, non-nutritive sweetened juice, etc. Now, what if you like energy drinks and stuff like Monster? Well, in our household, Amanda really likes the white Monsters, and they are only 10 calories per can or 6 grams of carbs instead of the regular Monster, which I believe is like 40 grams of carbs or like 120 calories. So that is to say, no liquid calories from like juices, sodas, etc. What about the dairy thing I mentioned earlier? Well, when it comes to caffeinated beverages such as like coffee with cream, milk, etc., that's a hard thing. So my general substitution for that, and we'll talk about substitutions in a moment, is that try and lean into lower calorie options that are non-dairy specific. So for example, if you enjoy your coffee, you take black coffee and you add milk and sugar, instead swap that out for almond milk and stevia, it won't taste as good. I get it. But, and this is just a hard thing, you have to, like, what's more important for this period in your life? Because there will be a point, like, sometimes I drink a little bit of coffee with cream in it, and it's great, and I love it, but a lot of the time I would just drink it black. It's being strategic on when those occasions happen rather than just making every single day an occasion where I get to have the super creamy, delicious coffee thing. So no liquid calories and no dairy. It's like if you add a bunch of cream to something, it's gonna have more calories, it's gonna have more fat, it's gonna make it harder to achieve a lower calorie intake. Again, we're not talking about what like your fitness goal is. If your goal is to lose weight, you have to be in a lower, you have to eat less calories. Consuming dairy and liquid calories will make that more challenging. So I suggest here being strategic about where you consume your calories and limiting it to only solid food sources only. Okay, covered a lot. Just to quickly recap, no dairy, no beef or pork, no dairy, no liquid calories, no sauces. Now this is one that is new for me to this list when I generally try and help people. But it's honestly a way in which a lot of people accidentally add more calories to their meals without even realizing it. So for example, if you were to go into our freezer right here and find this beef teriyaki that we have from Trader Joe's. And we love this stuff because it is literally cooked chicken thigh with a separate little sauce packet that you can include. Heating instructions: heat the chicken, heat the sauce, and if I go in here, here's a sauce packet. This sauce packet is delicious. I'm well aware of it. But I typically don't eat it because it is adding a ton of extra carbs to the meal, and I would prefer to get that from something that has fiber or just rice, like just straight up. I would rather eat more rice than sugar sauce because it's more voluminous. So this first example, no sauces, if you want to have a meal that is larger, and I've personally found, and for a lot of people who may struggle with dieting because the portion sizes are much smaller, eating no sauce will allow you to eat more solid food, which makes the meal more satisfying. Let me put this away really quick. So all that is to say, no sauces can, one, make a meal more satisfying from my own anecdotal experience because you get more food volume. But to echo the fact of no sauces, there's a lot of sauces that will just add a ton of calories to a meal, such as hoisin sauce. Oh no, I already have a bottle of hoisin sauce. So 2 tablespoons, which is not much, is 90 calories. And typically when you go to somewhere like Panda Express, P.F. Chang's, like the generic Americanized Chinese food places, your meal is just caked in sauce, and a lot of the base of that is going to be like a hoisin sauce, an oyster sauce, etc. So your solution in that scenario is generally going to be like a chicken teriyaki option and just ask for sauce on the side. Okay, this is going to be a little hard to hear, and I'm sorry. No sauces. Did you know that marinara sauce is a sauce? Did you know that Alfredo sauce is a sauce? And with these rules, it kind of rules out Italian food in general, which kind of sucks. I get it. But for a period of time in your life, you're trying to reduce your caloric intake to have a better body composition and lose weight. I don't eat a ton of Italian food when I am trying to adhere to my fitness goals, but there are times in which I go to pizza with my girlfriend and we really enjoy it. But the no sauce rule kind of kicks out Italian food in general because it is generally more calorically dense because there is so much sauce. Because a marinara sauce or a Alfredo sauce is just noodles and calories, like a caloric soup on top of it. So all that is to say, sadly, no Italian food, but again, Italian food's already hard to, because no dairy, no beef or pork, etc. So these rules I'm suggesting creates these lifestyle changes, and it very much does sound like a bodybuilding diet, but I want to share the fact that there is one final rule here, and it again sounds like a bodybuilding diet because there is a period of time, if you're trying to lose weight, lose fat, where you have to make some of these changes. And I don't want to say sacrifices because I think that paints a very negative picture around these things, in the same way that like saying a cheat meal is we phrase it in our mind as an opportunity to binge, when instead using language that makes our food choices feel like we have agency over it gives us power to say like, hey, maybe for a period of time I don't go out to pizza, I don't have Italian, and asking our friends like, hey, can we not go to the fried chicken place? Can we do this other thing instead, and being accountable? So the last rule here, I have number 5, is don't eat like a child. It used to be don't eat like an animal. It used to be don't eat like a reptile, etc. But like, let's be real. If you put a box of Oreos in front of a dog and they can't eat chocolate, they're gonna eat it because they literally do not know any better. And as much as I hate to say it, when it comes to making food choices and the modern American diet, we live in a food ecosystem that just purely sucks against our physiology, and like we are conditioned from a chemical level to want to seek out food whenever it's there and eat it no matter what, which is why we have such a problem, why I have such a problem. Like if you go to the link in the description down below, I have a long video on how I struggle with body dysmorphia, bulimia, binge eating disorder, etc. I struggle in our food environment because it is so calorically dense a lot of the time. To which the 5th rule, don't eat like a child, don't eat like a reptile, whatever you want to call it. And I know this can come off as coarse, but like it comes down to just being purely accountable for our food choices. So if you're genuinely trying to make healthier habits, whether it's just to lose weight, whether it's to make healthier choices, it's purely saying like, hey, I'm not a reptile. I'm not going to eat the entire carton of ice cream, because like what would a child do? And like, I'm assuming if you're watching this, you're genuinely interested in making some more positive changes. And in doing so requires us to think about these things. Now I need to add, I eat like a child sometimes. 3 to 5 times a year, I will have a plan, like I'm just going to enjoy today as I need without restriction to a point in which I am satisfied. And satisfied and sick are two very different things. What are those days for me? That is my birthday, that is Christmas, that is Thanksgiving, and a few other floating days in there, such as like Amanda's birthday, where she really wants to go out to Italian food or something like that. Or like a very specific day that is just like, you know what? Everyone's having a good time, like the 4th of July. I might have a burger and a hot dog and a slice of pie at the 4th of July party. So don't eat like a child doesn't have to just be like, I'm gonna eat like a monk. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. Because as someone who has gone onto very restrictive diets, I have tried keto, I have tried severe calorie restriction, I've tried zone, I've tried Weight Watchers, etc. And ultimately, having some food accountability is the #1 thing that has really helped me maintain my weight loss. Now, just to quickly summarize, if you've made it to this far in the video, and I don't think I mentioned earlier, but while I was in high school and while I've been healthier for longer than I have not been healthy, I am still haunted by some of the bad habits that happened during my childhood, such as wanting to eat the entire bag of Doritos, wanting to drink full calorie soda and only drink soda and no water, etc. Being 100 pounds heavier really messed me up in the head. So these 5 rules exist. And if you're watching this video, I sent this to you as a homework assignment. If you just watched it organically, awesome. I really appreciate you coming by. But I send this video as like a homework assignment to like help people get started with making better food choices. But ultimately, these rules are incomplete. And these rules are incomplete because no beef or pork, no dairy, no liquid calories, no sauces, and don't eat like a reptile does not open you up to making choices that are intelligent for what your needs and goals are. So it really comes down to portion control and being accountable. And in doing so, if you want to truly be accountable and have more educated portion control, having a food scale will significantly help with that. And I highly recommend investing 6 months of your life into just tracking your daily food habits, even on vacation for a short period of your life, for just 6 months. And it will change the difficulty of health goals to become so much easier, because you will know how many calories are in a tablespoon or like in some volume of oil. I feel very confidently that anyone who tracks for a solid 6 months, a year if possible, they can probably be within a 20% plus or minus margin guesstimation of any food source that they eat on a daily basis. There are certainly foods that I don't know the calories of, like a durian, or I don't eat a ton of donuts, so I have no idea what is in the calories of a donut, but that goes back to the rule of don't eat like a child. And like, I don't eat a bunch of donuts anymore because I would rather go eat ice cream, because I prefer eating ice cream over donuts, so I know nothing about donuts, but I'd rather have ice cream at the end of the night. So, okay. Food tracking, what does that mean? Download the Macro Factor app. I'm not sponsored by them. It's developed by another fitness influencer. His name is Jeff Nippert. He puts out really good content. Again, I'm not sponsored by him, but that is the best app I have found as of August 2024, because MyFitnessPal, which has been the most popular one, unfortunately has gotten worse because it is now pay to play, and it's just not as good as some of the other apps out there, such as Macro Factors. So if you're here in this video, tracking your food will be a very helpful tool. It will change your life better than any of these 5 rules. But the 5 rules are: no beef or pork, no dairy, no liquid calories, no sauces, don't eat like a child. I know I didn't cover what actual sauces. I'll do that in another video. If you would like that video, let me know in the comment section down below, because this has gotten long. Last thing I will say is, Stop undersalting your food. Buy one of these on Amazon, and you will salt your food significantly more. A lot more, actually. All right, I'm gonna go clean this up. Thank you very much for watching. If you learned something, let me know in the comment section down below. Questions, comments, concerns, whatever else, comment section is down there for that as well. And I will leave you with the final tip: eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. It makes a difference. Goodbye, my friends. Bye.